in terms of the weekend for Arsenal, obviously a lot of debate around the red card. Was it deserved, or is there a lack of consistency? Were Arsenal kind of cheated? What was your take? I want to go to LB first on this as a rival looking in. What did you make of the decision within itself?
It's one of them, right? Because at the end of the day, yeah, like, let's just hit the facts first of all. Yeah, the facts is he's kicked the ball away. It's a yellow card. So the decision's right, in my opinion. Yeah. Now you can, if you want, you can start talking about, is it harsh? Could he have had common sense? And that's, everyone's got their own opinion on that. You know what I mean? Potsy will have his opinion. Other Arsenal fans have other opinions. I've got my opinions. But the facts are, right, Declan Rice, and I've got to say as well, man, like, maybe he's done it because he's not ready. Because I've watched all the Arsenal games this season. And I don't think he's been particularly great. And I don't think he was great on Brighton, in the Brighton game, even before he got sent off. I don't think he's fit. I don't think he's fully match sharp. He's been disappointing there. He's let his team down. Like, in that situation, Arsenal were cruising. I did a watch along for it. In my opinion, there was absolutely no way Arsenal was going to not win that game if 11 men stayed on the pitch. Now, Arsenal fans can do this. We were robbed, blah, blah, blah. The FA hates us, PGMOL, just like they do all the time. You know what I mean? They did it last year with the Newcastle one. But at the end of the day, Declan Rice has let Arsenal down. And very few Arsenal fans are actually calling him out for that. He kicked the ball away. Now, whether or not the guy threw the ball at him, whatever, don't matter. He kicked the ball away. He should have moved out of the way. He's a professional player. He's more than experienced. He knows the game. And the Brighton player has done what he's needed to do to get an advantage. And at the end of the day, no matter what anyone says, if he didn't kick the ball away, he would have stayed on the football pitch. So for me, I think he's let his team down there by doing that. Is it harsh? Whatever, maybe. But the facts are he's kicked the ball away. And like I say, for me, like, Arsenal should have been 3 or 4-0 up by half time. Poor finishing. Even when it was 1-1, Havertz went through on goal again, should have buried it. Keeper saved it. There are so many more things that if you was an Arsenal fan, you should be looking at. The poor finishing. The defending for the Brighton goal was atrocious. Saliba, I don't know what Saliba's doing. Gabriel could have done better. And then again, Havertz at the end, even when it was 1-1, could have nicked it. So I think Arsenal fans are focusing on the wrong thing. They should be focusing on their own team, holding players accountable. Because at the end of the day, it's not a howler. He kicked the ball away, and that's a yellow card. Am I wrong?
Well, I mean, listen, it happened in front of me. That's where I sit. It was right in front of me. The decision, if he's kicked the ball away, says that he has to get a yellow card. And he's already on a yellow card. So he's got to get a red card, right? Now, you can go in and say that you couldn't look at that being taken as a correct free kick because the ball's moving, which is also a law. So therefore, the free kick shouldn't have been able to be taken. So therefore, Declan Rice is not delaying it. As soon as he touches that ball, he's given the referee a decision to make, as far as I'm concerned. If he just keeps walking and he just carries on, the referee's not going to book him because he's not touched the ball. So I look at Declan Rice there. Declan Rice has actually come out in an interview and he said, yeah, no, I get it. I shouldn't have done it. I gave the referee a decision to make. It was silly of me. It's a yellow card and I've been a silly boy. So as soon as Declan Rice says that, you think, yeah, you can't really say that it wasn't a yellow card, that it wasn't a sending off. Where the outrage is, that I agree with, in terms of the officiating, is the lack of consistency, because we have not seen João Pedro get a yellow card. We've also not seen 5 or 6 individual incidents that have happened in other games this weekend that have not been given. I think Dalot throws the ball forward and delays play. Nothing happens. There's 4 or 5 other incidents that it's absolutely fine to do. But when we've done it, because it's been given a yellow card, the Arsenal fan base or a section of them are saying that it's a conspiracy, whatever. I really do not believe that referees sit in a car park, meet up and go, right, how are we going to screw Arsenal over this weekend, people? What are we going to do? I really don't believe that happens in football. I just don't think it does. Because I look at Bournemouth's incidents in the last couple of weeks and they've had absolute shockers go against them. So are they doing this against Bournemouth now? Are they trying to ruin their season as well, these referees? So there is all teams in the Premier League that are going to get this all season. Absolutely. You'll rant about it, LB. You'll rant about it, Terry. All of the people that come on my channel will rant about it individually for their teams that's gone wrong. So for me, personally, I don't think we can look at that and say, that is the reason that we drew the game. It definitely had made it harder for us to win the game. Of course it did. It was 10-10. It's hard in that time, right? But let's be real. Did the referee stop Martin Odegaard missing from 5 yards? No. Did the referee stop Bukayo Saka's 2 chances that he should have done better with? No. And did the referee make Havertz miss the chance when we were down to 10 men? No. So I have to look at the situation right now at Arsenal and say that when that window shut and I said that we're a bit short up top still and that we should have got a striker, and people cried and said, stop being so negative and toxic, and started throwing abuse at me all weekend about how toxic and negative I am because I'm saying that we ain't going to be able to have enough to beat Man City. Prove that we have then. Get somebody in that team that can put the ball in the back of the net, because it's starting to frustrate the hell out of me. Martin Odegaard, by the way, I like him. He's a fantastic player. He's beautiful to watch. He's a great captain for Arsenal. But my God, how can you blast over from 4 yards in one game against Villa and then a week later tap it at the goalkeeper the next when you're 4 or 5 yards out? You've got to do better. So when the Arsenal fans are crying about it, oh, boo-hoo, the ref hates us, I kind of get frustrated because I'm actually pointing the finger thinking we could have been, 3-0 up in that game quite easily. So if you're 3-0 up and you go down to 10 men, you think, right, crazy decision, but you know what? It's 3-0. Let's just see this out. Because it's 1-1 and we haven't been able to take our chances, all of a sudden the referee's out of order. Now, we were 2-0 up against Wolves and Kai Havertz got throttled on the floor. No one's mentioning it as the Arsenal fan base because we won the game. If that was 0-0, we'd be going mental, saying the referee's a disgrace, this is out of order, he's the reason we didn't win the game. But because we put our chances in that game, no one's talking about it. So I have to be consistent, man. Yes, the referee is not consistent. He's had a shocker. It's poor. But Declan Rice has kicked the ball away and he's come out and said, I shouldn't have done it. It was a red card and that's it.
Good. And by the way, what's he said? Because I've not seen that. What's he said, Declan Rice?
Declan Rice came out in an interview and he said, I gave the referee a decision to make and it was silly of me. And I have to say that I have to hold my hands up and say that it's a sending off.
Congratulations. Well done. Because you need more of that. You need more accountability in football, yeah? And Declan Rice knows he's messed up. Now, all these Arsenal fans can sit there and moan about whatever and pretend like it wasn't a yellow card. But he's come out and said, I'd give the referee a decision to make. And that's exactly what he did. So I'd say respect to Declan Rice. He did screw his team up a bit, you know what I mean? And obviously he's now not going to be available for the North London derby. But I think that's the right thing to do. He's owned it. And Arsenal fans just need to own it. And like I say, they need to focus on the other stuff in the game. Because what's a bit disappointing here if you're an Arsenal fan is no one's speaking about how well Arsenal played in that first half. Arsenal played really well in that first half, I thought. You know, the chances that you created, I felt like you limited Brighton pretty well, you know, for them getting forward. And you created a load of chances. At the end of the day, you didn't put the chances in the back of the net. Any decision like that can happen at any time. We know that. And the game's turned on its head. Declan Rice, as he said himself, gave the decision, gave the referee decision to make, and for me, it was the correct call. And we can all moan about inconsistencies, but it's football. There's always going to be inconsistencies. We're never going to get referees making consistent decisions. Never going to happen. So for me, you should just take that out of your, out of their control.
There's a comment here as well from Lexis above the super chat from Todd. Just admit you look at things from a negative perspective, Dan. That red card decision was disgraceful. What have I said that's negative about that?
So is he calling Declan Rice a disgrace then? Because Declan Rice is basically not moaning about it. Declan Rice is saying, yeah, like I kick the ball away, I give the referee decision. So is Declan Rice now a disgrace?
I don't get this. Why are we not looking at our lack of finishing as a football club, thinking we should have done better in front of goal? Havertz should have done better. Great goal, by the way. Took his goal fantastically well. Unbelievable first touch. Pace, out-muscled his, did everything right. Finish, he taps it at the keeper. Saka, yeah, he was outstretching, but he should have done better in the first half as well as that chance. And then you've got Martin Odegaard missing from 5 yards. But that's negative. That's just factual. They weren't good enough in front of goal. That's a fact. That's not negative. That's not a negative opinion. That's a factual opinion. I
feel like in this circumstance, it's one of those things where there's more than one correct talking point. So I think it's absolutely fair to look at the missed chances and to look at, I thought it took Arsenal eventually gained, I wouldn't say control, but they settled into playing 10v11. But it took you about 15 minutes. And in that 15 minutes, they equalized. I think there's definitely areas that you can focus on. For me, it's always interesting. I hate it when a decision goes against Arsenal, purely for the reason being that when I call it out, Arsenal, Terrace, Arsenal fan. But when I do it for City, like I did last year, when I do it for Liverpool, like I did on a number of occasions, when I do it for Man United, I'm just called outright bias. I call out all these inconsistencies, and it's more the explanation that we hear. Yesterday, we heard Dermot Gallagher say that he was questioned about what shouldn't a referee use common sense in that circumstance, because Howard Webb has said we need to use common sense. And Gallagher's rationale is, well, common sense is following the rules within a letter of the law. So it's the right decision. In the next clip they reviewed, it was Will Hughes against Chelsea, where he commended the referee for saying, yeah, me and my colleagues used to essentially, someone probably should have got a yellow, but what we say is anything else after that, even if it isn't a yellow card offense, you're gone. And he's like, that's a really good way to referee games. So I'm sitting there listening and thinking, so 1 minute you're saying a referee used common sense and did the right thing by following the law. The next time you're saying he's done the right thing by not following the law and giving a final warning. I think there are two conversations here. I think we can focus on I don't think it's impossible to create consistency around booking people for delayed restarts. And that goes across the board. How many times a game do the team that's conceded a free kick stand in front of it so it isn't taken quickly? And rarely do you see a booking. Every now and then a goalkeeper is booked for time wasting, but they continue time wasting, they never get sent off. How often do you see a team get a penalty? And whether it's through protesting or standing on the spot, there's a delay. How often are players booked for that? Again, rarely. I think this should be called out without football fans becoming tribalistic and, well, I'm going to defend the referee because it was Arsenal. I'm going to defend the referee because I hate Man City and it's gone against them, as opposed to kind of ring fencing it from the football conversation and talking about the inconsistencies of these referees. There's a reason there's no EPL referees in the Champions League this year, because the standard is awful and
they're trash.
And they are. And the thing is, everybody gets hurt by it. I agree with Potsy, and I say it on every single time I mention poor refereeing. I say this: I never call the team that benefited cheats, because I don't think they're paying the refs. Equally, I don't think there's a conspiracy to damage a particular team. But what you never know ahead of time is how many bad ones in a season you're going to get versus good ones in your favor. And with the level of inconsistency, these referees could decide a title in either which way. You guys are going for a historic 5-peat this year. You could have 5 decisions like this go against you this year that cost you 8 points, say 6 points in total. Imagine then you lose the league by a point and you look back, and I understand you could have finished your chances in the first half, Arsenal, and it's fair criticism. But how many teams are scoring 3, 4, 5 goals in the first half? It's quite rare. 1 or 2 is normally the amount. I think Arsenal would have continued in that vein in the second half. Then this red card happens, which by the letter of the law is a red card, but you won't probably see it happen again. Delot last season sent off 2 yellow cards for the same series of swearing in dissent against Liverpool away from home. Never happened before that. Didn't happen again after it. And we still see players consistently swearing at referees. So as a United fan, that annoyed me in the moment, because I was like, I know it's a red card by the letter of the law, but no one else is going to suffer with that. And I think we can call both these things out. Personally, viewers, I'd like to know what you think and feel. On Declan, sorry, go on, bro.
Just one thing to add to this, right? You know how they've come out now and said, well, Howard Webb told all the players 3 weeks ago. You know what I think would be helpful is if they come out and told us, like, whatever they tell the players, come out and tell us as fans. Stream it on X so everybody can see it. Everyone can see exactly what's going on. And say, right, Howard Webb can be there and said, right, I've just told the players, every single player in the Premier League has just been told this. I'm going to tell you as a fan. Because imagine if he would have done that 3 weeks ago, like live on a stream, and every single Arsenal fan would have seen it. And then Declan Rice does that. I think Arsenal fans approach it slightly different, because they were like, well, we just got told that 3 weeks ago of Howard Webb, so did Declan Rice. He's an idiot. And although we're now being told that, oh, well, the players were told this, like, why can't we be told as fans? You know what I mean? Why can't we be told this information as fans? You know what I mean? So, like, that's the only thing I'd add. It's like, why
I agree. But do you know what? I don't do it, in my opinion, because even when it comes to Howard Webb going on Sky 3 or 4 times a year, if you listen to the lack of questioning from Michael Owen, it's horrendous, because he'll contradict himself over the 40 minutes 3 or 4 times and isn't pulled up on it. I think they should give us transparency, but transparency leads to credible criticism. So if they come out and say any delaying of a restart of a game is an instant yellow card, but then you see Declan Rice get sent off, it's there in black and white. When they then don't do it regularly, they are going to get absolutely bombarded and there's nowhere for them to move. The problem is with PGMOL is everything's about how do we cover our asses from making mistakes. And the maddest bit is that leads to more problems. They've just got it wrong. The people running their organization have got it backwards. We understand they're human beings and they'll make mistakes. But the way you make less mistakes through life is through real feedback, real challenge, really good constructive criticism, and transparency, and admitting. And what would be more refreshing is, do you know what we have? Definitely the mistake was made in terms. I'd love to hear how we go. Do you know what the mistake isn't? The Declan Rice red card. The mistake, which we've fed back into all of our referees this weekend, is they have to give out more yellow cards for these situations. And at least then you're telling us what you're doing about it. It's always like, no, the referee. They always find a reason to praise what the referee did and tell you why it was right. But it then contradicts the next mistake, like we heard from Dermot Gallagher. No, the most important thing to do is follow the letter of the law every single step of the way. 5 minutes later, it's really important sometimes to manage the game and the scenario and try and keep it 11v11. Well, which fucking is it?
Yeah, and by the way, I don't know if you guys agree, and maybe I'm on my own here, yeah. This whole, we can't ruin the spectacle. We have to keep... No.
Fuck off, yeah.
That's not right. Your job as a referee is not to keep 11 players versus 11 players or to ruin the spectacle. Yeah, your job is to referee the game properly in accordance to the rules. So, you don't look at Declan Rice and go, well, he has kicked the ball away, it's yellow card, but if I send him off, then that's going to ruin the spectacle. And I want to keep... No. Your job as a referee is to referee. So can we stop please saying, we don't want to ruin the spectacle? Because it's the players ruining the spectacle by committing the fouls or offences.
LB, we are on the same wavelength 100%, which is exactly why this is why the Declan Rice decision will come back to one, and I'll stand by it, where I think Arsenal, in terms of that decision, were robbed of a better opportunity of winning, because there'll be a game in a few weeks, and it could be the North London derby, and there'll be an opportunity to send a Spurs player off, and it won't happen. And what you'll hear from Gallagher and Howard Webb and all the associations is, yes, but it's a massive occasion. We want the spectacle to be good. We want it to be 11v11. We're trying to keep the game flowing. But what about the spectacle of Arsenal versus Brighton? At the end of the day, that notion of referee games differently based on the occasion, you literally are damaging the integrity of the game. It means that Brighton versus Arsenal is going to be refereed different from Arsenal versus Man City. How the hell is there fairness? And that is a directive. That isn't a subjective, subconscious approach. They are being directed to do this. And the fact and that's why I say I think it's a different conversation from the football.